Welcome everybody, so I am back to bring you guys a brand new movie review, and this is going to be for Jurassic World. So Jurassic World stars Chris Pratt as well as Bryce Dallas Howard. This movie is a pretty cool film. As you guys know, I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. I have all the movies in the franchise, Jurassic Park 1 being my favorite. I do like The Lost World Jurassic Park, even though some people that I know and I am friends with do not like it too much, but that's a subjective matter, I guess. Jurassic Park 3, not really my favorite, but I do like parts of it. Where does this movie begin? This family is going there for a vacation, namely these two kids. Their parents are starting to get divorced, and so they get tickets to Jurassic World, hopefully to kind of forget about what's going on in their parent terminally ill relationship. You know, the parents sort of get along, but you kind of have the hint that, you know, something's going on the side. Once the kids make it to the mainland, Isla Nublar, the kids kind of go around and get the room set up and everything, which you hardly ever see in this entire movie, which is kind of funny. Like, they made this entire big deal about, you know, the room and kind of opening it up, and then you kind of seeing this gigantic amusement park or theme park attraction. They didn't really do anything with the rooms towards the end of the film, kind of just forget about that they exist, but apparently there are hotels there. I think it's pretty cool with this movie that they did a finished theme park. You know, I had an idea that was similar to this when I was a kid about having a Jurassic Park movie where there was a theme park and it was actually built and everything, and then things go wrong in it, and I always thought that'd be a cool idea that they would eventually do that for a movie, and they actually did it with this movie. And even with the little kids being kind of annoying in it, I actually do kind of like the actors that they chose for these, one of which was in Iron Man 3, which I did a review on not too long ago, and this was actually his second film, I think, or he's probably done a lot of other stuff before then, before he got to this part. Usually child actors do a couple big name films and they don't really act anymore, but I think this kid might have talent someday if he continues to do it. But then they meet Bryce Dallas Howard's character, who is pretty much the John Hammond of the Jurassic Park universe. She's kind of built Jurassic Park, or Jurassic World, as I should say, up from the ashes of the last theme park, which was Jurassic Park. There's also a nod several times to John Hammond in this movie, one of which there's actually an entire statue dedicated to John Hammond in this film. There's even a sequence where they actually go to the old park in Isla Nublar, which I thought was cool because you see the mural on the wall with the dinosaurs and stuff, and you got the velociraptor and some of the other animals that were on there when they're chasing the kids in the kitchen, pretty much in that scene from Jurassic Park. There's even this stupid subplot in this film, which I don't understand why they have subplot in this movie, where apparently they're training raptors to, you know, hunt for terrorists and Taliban in the military. And that's where you see Vincent D'Onofrio's character, who I've seen him in other works and stuff, and I have some of the other movies that he's been in. He's a really talented actor in this, but he pretty much plays it up to be this uber generic villain. You know, he's always trying to weasel his way into the dinosaur park enclosures and stuff, and he's trying to see these animals because he's kind of oversights on Chris Pratt character, who Chris Pratt not only plays the love interest to Bryce Dallas Howard, but Pratt also plays, you know, the animal trainer, or the ranger as you would call him in the first Jurassic Park movie, and he's pretty much with the animals 24/7, and he's the one that's training them to, you know, communicate with each other, to kind of coordinate and attack with each other, which you eventually see later on in the movie when they fight the Indominus Rex, which the Indominus Rex is something that I do kind of like, even though I think it's kind of a silly concept where you have these companies trying to genetically alter dinosaur DNA and create Frankenstein creatures with these, because there's just so much things that could have gone wrong with what they've seen with the previous park. You'd think they would have learned their lesson from doing that, but apparently they didn't, which, you know, if you just stuck with regular dinosaurs, there's easier ways to control them and stuff with electrical fences. But as we've seen before, there's always ways for dinosaurs to get out. In this movie, it's not a power surge or anything like that, or a hurricane that hits. It's the Indominus Rex that kind of breaks through and starts causing havoc, starts eating some of the creatures and stuff, which leads to Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard trying to corral the situation. There's even a really sad sequence where you see one of the dinosaurs. It's an animatronic neck and head, but it's one of the actual, like, animatronics they used in this movie. Most of this movie is CGI, but mixed in with kind of real elements, so they kind of get a pass for this, even though I kind of think it was a little bit too much overuse of the CGI. It would have been cool to see kind of how they would handle a modern day Jurassic Park movie with different animatronics and stuff, but I know Stan Winston isn't actually around to be able to do that, which they do pay homage to Stan Winston several times in this movie, which I thought was pretty cool. There's even a sequence in this movie which I think is pretty funny, where the female handler is kind of watching over these kids as Bryce Dallas Howard's character is kind of ignoring the kids throughout most of the movie, kind of gets eaten with the pteranodons, where they kind of dunk her into a fish tank, and then you see the Mosasaurus, which you've seen in the earlier parts of the film, kind of rise out of the water and kind of just eat this lady and take her down and stuff, which is pretty horrific. Like, this is a pretty horrific scene for, you know, sort of a PG-13 movie, and you see a lot of scenes like that throughout this film where, you know, bystanders are just getting taken out by pteranodons and T-Rexes and stuff like that. And that's all fun and good and stuff, because you kind of expect that for a Jurassic Park movie. You know, I really love the scene where you see Jimmy Buffett inside the restaurant. He's holding a glass, alcohol and stuff, and he's running away as the pteranodons are attacked. Like, those little, like, humor bits where they kind of insert that in between the action is pretty cool. There's even a sequence where at the beginning beginning, you kind of see the formation of the bond between these brothers who've been kind of like going at it before. They have to escape the Indominus Rex after they make their way out of the hamster ball that they're kind of riding around in, and kind of see in the park they're forced to kind of jump off of this giant waterfall, which kind of reminded me of the Predator in a way, you know, that whole sequence and how it was filmed and everything, and how you had the Predator kind of chasing Arnold Schwarzenegger and they have to kind of leap from that in order to survive, and you kind of see him kind of trudging through to get out. That was kind of like a resemblance to that movie. Like, it was kind of shot lower to the ground, kind of like Predator was. And so I don't know if they're just paying homage to that movie because Stan Winston also did the effects for that as well. But just little stuff like that that I think was really cool and unique that they did for this movie. For the hamster ball sequence and stuff like that, I thought that was a unique way to bring in sort of a new age thing into this universe, you know, whereas before you had Jeeps for the previous Jurassic Park movies, which you do see in these new modern films, and you got that Land Rover, which I think was pretty cool in the original films, shows up a little bit in this movie and becomes a little bit of a major role in the sequel Fallen Kingdom, which I really like that kind of nod to the original movies. I think if a movie does it too much, it becomes kind of like pandering, but if it does it like just a little bit, then it's not considered pandering anymore. I would have to give this movie about an A. I think this movie definitely deserves the A rating. Definitely not an A- or an A+, because there's some stuff that they do that's a little bit annoying, you know, with like the sort of handler lady. She was kind of annoying throughout most of the movie. It's like, why couldn't they just let these kids kind of roam around the park and stuff without having, you know, sort of a person watching them? You know, some of the character plot lines, like the military thing, which I do like because it comes into play towards the end when you have the military kind of trying to quarantine the area and recapture the Indominus Rex, and there's that cool sequence where they send in the military with these tasers and stuff and they just get completely obliterated by the Indominus Rex. I think that really did work in terms of story and characters, but the whole military idea that they're trying to use these as weapons didn't really work for me, so that's why it gets kind of knocked down. I think for these newer movies, you kind of have to get the audience readjusted to the Jurassic World universe. Yeah, some people might have been seeing these movies since they was a kid, so like me, it won't be hard to adjust to that, but for other people, it probably will be, and so playing it safe and kind of doing a homage and sort of a reintroduction to the Jurassic World franchise is kind of how I think that they should be done, and then take chances and stuff like that afterwards, because that's worked for Star Wars. Even though The Last Jedi isn't the greatest movie like ever, it still looked beautiful in a way, but the story is just kind of dog shit, and maybe I'll talk about that sometime in another video. I really wish they would have used more creature effects like the animatronics in Jurassic Park 1, 2, and a little bit in 3, because Stan Winston was a genius at that, but I know he's not around anymore, so they can't really do that, so that's why they went the CG route. But the visual effects are awesome. Some of it is revolutionary. I really like that nighttime sequence where you see Chris Pratt and the raptors kind of riding alongside him, and then they're hunting down the Indominus Rex. You know, it becomes sort of like an Aliens movie where they've got cameras and stuff on all their gear. I like all the practical effects for the costumes and stuff. I thought it was really good. The soundtrack, where it kind of hints towards the original movies as well as doing something unique and new with it, I think it was really brilliant. So as a Jurassic Park fan, this kind of gave me everything that I expected. Some things I didn't, like the end sequence where you have the Velociraptor taking down the Indominus Rex after there's this big gigantic sequence where you see the T-Rex just going ham on the Indominus Rex at the end of this movie, and they're destroying stuff, and it's a really cool action sequence. So if you're a dinosaur fan, if you're a fan of dinosaurs, you'll definitely like this movie. This definitely kind of harkens back to those moments where you saw like dinosaur movies growing up, like King Kong. It's just a really good action movie altogether. I think that fans of Jurassic Park will definitely be pleased with Jurassic World. Whether or not they like Fallen Kingdom is subjective, but I definitely did like this movie. And it was really cool to see like a working theme park for one. I always had that idea in my head, like if I was going to be doing a Jurassic Park movie, would be the route that I would want to go. Obviously, I didn't make that movie, so it's not my judgment call. But so yeah, that is my review for Jurassic World. I know I've kind of rambled on this movie for quite some time. I could go a little bit more deeper into the film, but I definitely want you guys to kind of see it and definitely buy it on Blu-ray. It's definitely worth the watch on Blu-ray, or maybe the HD Blu-ray. But as always, guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.